Negativity loses its power the moment you respond with conscious choice rather than reflexive emotion. And that is the thought for today. Welcome to 7 Good Minutes. I'm Clyde Lee Dennis. Thanks for joining me for what I believe will be 7 of the most enriching minutes of your day. In today's episode of 7 Good Minutes, we talk about breaking free from negativity with some simple daily steps to lift your life. Enjoy. It often starts as a faint whisper, an offhand remark, a passing thought, a flash of doubt, and before you know it, that whisper of negativity has turned into a steady hum in the background of your day. If you've felt the weight of that hum recently, stay with me. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to quiet that negative noise and replace it with a clearer, kinder soundtrack. Using a handful of simple steps, you can begin the very moment we're finished here. Negativity is part of being human. Our brains evolved to scan for threats, which means we naturally latch onto what's wrong faster than what's right. A single harsh email can overshadow 10 encouraging ones. One awkward conversation can erase an entire afternoon of pleasant exchanges. Recognizing that tendency is the first invitation to compassion, you're not broken. Your mind is simply doing its ancient job far too well for modern life. Still, just because that negativity bias is natural, doesn't mean we have to let it run the show. Picture an old-fashioned radio. Negativity is like static on the dial. When we don't tune it, the static drowns out the music we actually want to hear. Tuning the dial is possible. It's not about pretending static doesn't exist. It's about learning to guide the knob until the music comes through. Step 1 is to notice the moment the static begins. Most negative spirals gather strength in the dark, when they're vague and unnamed. The simple act of catching yourself and saying, "I'm thinking a harsh thought," shines a flashlight on the process. It's like snapping on a light in a cluttered room. Suddenly you see the mess instead of tripping over it. A helpful trick is to label the thought as just that, a thought. Instead of, "I messed up that presentation, I'm terrible at public speaking," reframe it as, "I'm having the thought that I messed up." That tiny phrase, "I'm having the thought," creates space between you and the feeling. Once you've noticed and named the thought, step 2 is to neutralize it with a dose of reality. Ask yourself for evidence, the way a gentle lawyer might cross-examine a friendly witness. Is it true I always mess up? What examples prove otherwise? Often you'll find your mind is telling what novelist Anne Lamott calls bad first drafts. They're dramatic, black and white, and rarely stand up to facts. Bringing in evidence softens the edges. Step 3 is to redirect your focus. Our attention is like the lens on a camera. Whatever it zooms in on fills the frame. After neutralizing a negative thought, deliberately choose a constructive question. What's the next useful step I can take? Or, what small action will move me forward? This doesn't mean forcing false positivity. It means shifting from rumination to response, turning stagnant worry into motion. Consider Marcus, a listener who wrote in last year. He shared that after being passed over for a promotion, his inner dialogue turned brutal. "You'll never advance. You're not leadership material." Once he recognized the spiral, he paused and wrote down evidence of times he'd led projects successfully. That cooled the emotional temperature. Then he redirected. He scheduled a meeting with his supervisor, asked for feedback, and enrolled in a short leadership workshop. 3 months later, another position opened, and this time Marcus was selected. The external win was nice, but the bigger victory was internal. The knowledge that he could steer his thoughts rather than be swept away by them. Step 4 is to nourish your mind with positive input before negativity even has a chance to dominate. This isn't about ignoring hard news or avoiding serious topics. It's about balance. If every spare moment is filled with doom scrolling or critical commentary, negativity becomes the water you swim in. Try bookending your day with uplifting material, a chapter from an inspiring memoir in the morning, a gratitude list, or calming music at night. These are small deposits into an emotional savings account that pay dividends when stress inevitably arrives. Environment matters too. Jim Rohn famously said, "We're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with." If those 5 are relentlessly cynical, sarcasm and complaint will seep into your own worldview. Seek out voices, podcasts, friends, mentors, who challenge you realistically, but encourage you consistently. That subtle shift in company can transform the tone of your days. Step 5 is physical. Negativity lives in the body as tension, shallow breaths, furrowed brows. Something as simple as a slow inhale for 4 counts, hold for 2, exhale for 6 cues your nervous system that you're safe. Movement, stretching, walking, dancing in the kitchen, releases pent-up stress chemicals. It's hard for the mind to cling to a rigid story when the body is gently moving. Let's talk language for step 6. Words shape reality. Notice the difference between, I have to finish this report, and I get to share my ideas in this report. One implies burden, the other implies opportunity. Swap always and never with sometimes. Trade can't for haven't yet. The shift may feel silly at first, but over time it rewires the narratives running in the background. Nighttime offers step 7, a quick mental review. Not the exhaustive replay of every misstep, just a 5-minute scan for 3 things that went well, no matter how small. Maybe you answered an email promptly, drank enough water, or listened patiently to a friend. Recording those moments trains your brain to store positive data. You're gradually teaching your internal radio to favor clearer stations. Now, none of these steps eliminate every negative feeling forever. Life will still throw curveballs, unexpected bills, misunderstandings, loss. The goal isn't to live in unbroken sunshine, but to build an umbrella sturdy enough for sudden rain. When a storm cloud appears, you'll know where the switch is to turn on the porch light. There's one more perspective that helps: service. When we get stuck in our own negative loops, turning outward breaks the spell. Send a text of appreciation. Donate a gently used coat. Hold the elevator. Acts of kindness remind us we're part of something larger than the problem of the moment. They also spark what researchers call the helper's high, a biochemical nudge toward warmth and optimism. All these steps share a common thread: choice. Negativity often feels imposed, but every noticing, questioning, redirecting, and nourishing act is a choice we can make in real time. Over days and weeks, those choices compound. Imagine waking up a month from now. The same commute, the same family dynamics, maybe even the same challenges at work. But the radio dial is quieter. Static still pops in, but you recognize it sooner, temper it with truth, and move on quicker. That shift frees up energy. Energy you can spend on creativity, relationships, and restful evenings, instead of endless internal debates. So, the next time that whisper starts, you always, why bother? Pause, notice, name it, question it, redirect, nourish, move, and watch how, step by simple step, a hum of negativity gives way to a clearer, steadier note of possibility. That does it for today's episode of 7 Good Minutes. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on the platform you're listening on. Until next time, let's be civil to one another out there. Thanks for listening.